Couldn't resist that one.
Well, my name is Pastor Jim Hoggett. I pastor Coeur d'Alene Open Bible. But today we're sitting in Coeur d'Alene Homes. Wow, what a wonderful place. The staff is very, very warm and friendly, and the people are outstanding.
And the guest singer's pretty good too?
And the guest singer's pretty good too.
Stand up.
We've been talking for the last few weeks about the origin of words, etymology. And today I want to tell you about one of them. In the old medieval ages, it is said that they wore their hearts on their sleeves. Let me tell you where that came from. The knights would go and they would joust with their horses and their lances, and often up in the balcony you would see this woman who is in love with the knight. And to show that this is her knight, she would take a scarf and she put the scarf on his sleeve, and he would wear her colors on her sleeve. So he's wearing his heart on his sleeve. A lot of times they would have sailing ships who would be fighting with each other, pirates and other places. Now the sailing ships tried to fool each other by putting up different flags. So they had all kinds of flags up. But once in a while, they would actually shoot on the other person. And the rule is, before you fired your cannons, you had to raise the flag from the country that you came from. So you are showing your true colors. Have you ever heard crazy as a Mad Hatter? It turns out that people who made hats in the medieval ages, they used something that they shouldn't be using, but they didn't know it yet. To make the hats, they would use mercury. And many of them would get a little loony. So they would be as loony or as crazy as a Mad Hatter. I've been thinking about this word mortgage. Take the word mortgage and break it down. The first part of the word mortgage, doesn't that sound a little morbid? Doesn't that sound like death? We have a mortuary. So the first part is death. The second part is a gage, which is something you put up in collateral. Now, their thinking was this. A mortgage is going to have a death, one way or the other. Either you will put to death your mortgage by paying it off, and if you failed to pay it off, you would put to death your interest in the property. Now I was thinking about the word mortgage. So let's see, a gauge, it kind of measures. Perhaps we could say that you could measure a person's death by how big his mortgage is. The bigger the mortgage, the sooner he's going to die. When I was in elementary school, I got a letter from a little girl, and it said, "Dear Jim, I love you. Do you love me? Yes, no, please check one." Have you ever noticed when you get letters, there'd be XO, XO, XO on the end of it? Well, the X part actually came from the medieval ages. When they used to sign their names, behind their name they would put an X, because it is the X or the cross for St. Andrew. So they're saying, I am swearing that everything that I have just signed is true. Here's my X, which is after St. Andrew, St. Andrew's cross. So sometimes you would have someone who'd write your letter and he'd write XO, XO, XO. Have you ever heard the expression dressed to the nines?
Yeah.
It actually was a little bit different in the medieval ages. It was dressed to thine eyes.
Oh.
So I'm dressing for you. I'm doing this special thing for you. So we translated it a little bit different when it came here, and it's called now dressed to the nines. The last one is the word doubting Thomas. Everybody knows about doubting Thomas. Well, here's where that came from. Of course, we're going back to the Bible, and Jesus dies for our sins. Well, we all know that. But most people don't know that he actually rose from the dead. Now, he appears to his disciples. and one of his disciples was Thomas. Now, the first time he appeared to his disciples, Thomas wasn't there. And so they told him about Jesus rising from the dead. And he said, I won't believe it unless I can touch his hands and the sword that went through his side. I want to touch his wound on the side. So when Jesus showed up again, he said to Thomas, come, touch me. And we're really glad he did that, because just after that, there was a cult that was called Gnosticism that said Jesus really didn't live. He was a phantom. And him touching him on his hands and his side just proves, yeah, Jesus could be touched. But what Thomas doesn't get remembered for is that Jesus and his disciples were on the way to Jerusalem. Jesus plainly told his disciples, I'm going to Jerusalem and they're going to kill me. And Thomas says, let's all go with him and we'll die with him. We forgot all about that, but we keep talking about doubting Thomas. Okay, I'll pick this up next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.